Welcome back to Life Sculptors Podcast. I'm your host, Dante Poole. It is always a privilege to share time and space with you as we talk about life, sometimes through the lens of children's books. And so, thank you for just being a part of the conversation and listening in. And we should get right into it. One of the things I love to do is I love harvesting quotes and lines and from movies and thoughts that people may have. And during one of my most recent streaming binges of The Warrior Nun, there was this line in the series where one of the characters says to the other one, "We are never ready, only prepared." Yeah, see? And that stuck with me because it was like, wait, we are never ready, only prepared. Because I think many of us spend a lot of time waiting for just waiting to be ready, right? We this feeling that we call ready, like ready to change, to begin something, ready to move forward, ready to heal, ready to leave, ready to trust, ready to just try again, ready. Like, what if readiness is not what we think it is? Some of the most meaningful moments in our lives happen long before we're ready. Mm. It's when we're probably in situations where we feel the most emotionally uncertain that those things happens, and if courage, right, has to do with readiness, then man. But what if courage has less to do with becoming fearless and more to do with hmm possibility becoming our reality, like the possibility of something becoming more convincing even than our own comfort? What if that's the case? So today, I want us to look at a book that's got me thinking about that a little bit. It's this book called Mel Fell by Corey R. Tabor. And it's a book about a bird who's learning to fly. And but it's more than that, right? You know it's more than that. And like, I think this book is about forward movement. I think it's about identity. I think it's about fear and perception and possibility. And the discipline of staying grounded in truth when other voices around us try to define our movement for us. Hmm. Honestly, I think that's where most people are living right now. We're just living in emotionally loud times where there's so much going on. I mean, it feels like there's global instability, there's economic uncertainty, there's rising food and gas prices, there's people struggling just to meet their basic needs. The communities are polarized, the people are emotionally exhausted. And when fear increases like that, something happens in human beings psychologically. Uh, we tend to narrow. We get smaller. Our imaginations shrink. Our courage decreases. And our nervous system moves into survival mode. Oh my goodness, survival mode. Oh. And so we get into these places of survival mode where we just hold on to places of comfort really tightly. And it's not because we're weak. It's not because we're weak. It's because it is safer to hold on to the predictable than it is to pursue the possible. So today I want us to be thinking about, what does it mean to to stay open to the possibilities in a world that's constantly trying to train us to stay in fear. Mel Fell. I want us to read it because I think it'll give us some insight on what that really means, what it means to remain open to possibility when we live in a world that wants to train us to remain and live in fear. Hmm. We should read Mel Fell. Mel Fell by Corey R. Tabor. One day, when Mama was away, Mel decided it was time to learn to fly. She had been in the nest a long time. Aren't you scared? Asked her sister Pim. Yes, said Mel, but I won't let that stop me. She looked down from the branch. It sure is a long drop, said her brother Pip. Well, said Mel, I've got wings. Mel was scared, and it was a long drop. But today was the day she would fly. See you soon, she told her siblings. She jumped, she flipped, she spread her wings, and then she fell. Mel fell and fell. She's falling past some owls right now who's clinging to her babies. The squirrels tried to catch her. They did. They really did. They'd grown quite fond of those squeaky little chirpers upstairs. Blasted nuts. Oh, hey. But it was no use. They missed her by a whisker. Zazoo, zazoo, said the bees, but they barely slowed her down. We'll save you. Even the spider lent a hand. Well, 8 of them. But still, Mel fell. Don't fear, said a snail. I will catch you. Mel fell and fell. Oh no, said a ladybug. Then splash, Mel went into the water. Mel dived into the water. She snapped her beak and caught a fat little fish. I gotta turn the book, y'all. She kicked her legs. She wiggled her tail feathers. She spread her wings, and then she flew. She's going up with a fish in her mouth. Mel flew and flew past the ants and past the snail. As Mel flew by the spider, clapped her hands. All 8 of them. The bees said, huzzah, huzzah. The squirrels raced her to the top. And Mama was waiting when she got there. I flew, said Mel. I knew you could, said Mama. I knew I could too, said Mel, as they hugged in an embrace. The end. Mel Fell. Thank you, Corey Tabor. Oh my goodness. There is so much happening in this story, y'all. So much. Like the first thing that struck me was that I think Mel knew she was made for more than just staying on that branch or in the safety of the nest. Mel knew. Like, I want to be careful now, because sometimes people hear "made for more" and they think that somebody means they should be more successful or make more money or become more visible or achieve more. But I don't think that's what's going on in this story. I think I don't think the branch was a bad place. I don't think being in the nest was a bad place. It just wasn't the fullness of who Mel could become. And I wonder how many people feel this tension, right? Where you're not, it's not that you're not satisfied exactly, but there's an awareness. There's this little something in you that says that awareness, that comfort and calling are not always the same thing. That safety can quietly become a limitation, that there are capabilities in you that have not yet been trusted. Hmm. An awareness of those things. And one of the details in the story that struck me was that Mel waited until her mother was gone before she tried anything, before she took the leap. And it made me wonder about that. Like, why did she wait until her mother was gone? Like, was it fear? Did she want independence? Like, was it timing? Or maybe, hmm, sometimes we need enough distance, should I say, from the voices that are protective around us to discover what's really placed in us. Like sometimes the voices, the people around us who mean well, and it's their job to protect us. Sometimes they're unintentionally protecting us from becoming. Hmm. And those voices aren't bad. They are not bad. And those people with those voices, they love us. But what happens sometimes is if we just stay reliant on those protective voices in every season, then we just continue to borrow their confidence instead of embodying our own confidence. And at some point, everybody has to decide, what do I believe about me? Like who do I believe I am? Ooh. Like what do I believe is possible for me? As the story goes on, like the siblings begin talking to their sister Mel, and I love this. They say, it sure is a long way. Like that's a long drop. That's a long way down. And and and, and that's important because right, it was a long drop. From where Mel and her siblings were sitting on that branch, it was a long drop down. And that long drop is not us ignoring things. It's actually an opportunity for us to reframe. When we look at something from one perspective, it requires a level of maturity in our conversations about courage and reframing because reframing is not a denial of reality. No, it's not pretending like difficulty doesn't exist. It's not toxic positivity. It's not ignoring reality. Like the drop, the challenge is real. But Mel's response was everything, y'all. Oh my God. You know what Mel says? I've got wings. Listen, I've got wings. Mel wasn't ignoring the fact that there was a drop. What Mel was saying is, yeah, this is the environment, but I'm made for more. I got something on me that has prepared me for this moment. Oh, Mel responds not out of fear, but she responds from identity. And that's different because courage is not pretending like the challenge isn't small, it's not pretending like the drop is steep. Courage is recognizing that I possess capacities relevant to the challenge I'm facing right now. Do you know that you possess capacities to face the challenges that are relevant to you right now? Ooh. I think many people lose touch of their wings, their proverbial wings, the things that they're capable of, the capacity that they have. And I think what happens is that we let fear drown out our capacity. We let fear and the noise of fear become louder than the noise of our capacity, than the sound of our capacity. Hmm. Perception matters, y'all. Perception matters. See, and it's not only fear that drowns out, because it's not only fear that drowns out our capacity. It's our perception of it. In this perception, sometimes that perception is our identity, our own individuality. Sometimes that perception comes from the collective. Sometimes that perception is cultural. And when fear dominates our perception, ah, rest looks like laziness. Boundaries look selfish. Faith looks irrational. Movement seems reckless. And courage is mistaken for foolishness. And that's what's happening around Mel. Like everyone is watching her and they're interpreting her movements through their own fears. Have you had that happen to you before where you were moving a certain way and everyone around you started interpreting your movements through their own fears, through their own lens? Because people often interpret life through and through their own fears. They're not just their life though. They interpret your life, your growth, your boundaries, your healing, your decisions, your movement through their own anxieties and limitations. You have to be mindful that other people will interpret your life through the lens of their limitations. Sometimes people think you're falling because they don't understand what you were designed to do. And more importantly, who you were called to be. Mm, okay, okay. Uh, because I think many people carrying the weight of other people's interpretations limit themselves. That we allow other people's interpretations to bear so much weight in our lives that we don't step out to become. We don't step into what we were designed and what we were made for. And this can become emotionally exhausting. Ah, especially in a world where everybody has a commentary, where everybody's got something to say. Like everybody seems to have access to us. They have an opinion, they have projections. But I was thinking about something that uh, gentleman, his name is Torrey Roberts. He was in a conversation that I was watching, and he says we have to cultivate the discipline of reframing. I was like, oh, that's good right there. It's learning to fight for the reframe. He describes it like we're having to weave through the traffic of our minds. Oh, I see. In order to stay grounded in our truth and stay grounded in truth, like we need to weave through the traffic of our minds in order to stay grounded in truth. I don't know about you, but sometimes my mind is such a busy place. Like there's a lot going on. And sometimes we say it like this. I'm a lot. Because we know that our minds can be so crowded. They're crowded with fears. Sometimes they're crowded with memories. They're crowded with social media stuff. They're crowded with comparison. They're crowded with doubts. They're crowded with other people's voices and opinions. They're crowded with the worst case scenario because we're really good at that. And if we're not intentional, we'll allow fear to be the sole interpreter of our reality. And this thing that, like, if I let fear become the interpreter of my reality, oh, this will impact my relationships. Gosh, because when people are emotionally overwhelmed, they stop hearing clearly. When I let fear be the thing that is the perception, the lens in which I look through things, I stop hearing things the way I can hear them. I stop hearing them clearly. I was in a conversation with my wife recently with some other folks, and she said something. She said, we need to learn to communicate things in the way that they need to be heard and not in the way we want to say them. And I just kind of looked at her like, yo, chick is smart if y'all don't know her. I was like, yes, we have to communicate things in a way that they need to be heard, not in the way I just want to say them. That's why we can't get stuck on I said what I said. Because the whole point of communication is understanding. And if I'm not communicating in a way that can be heard, then I'm just making noise. Y'all, reframing matters. Reframing matters, and because I could say something to someone, and they could hear it as encouragement, and somebody else, or even that same person, could hear that very same thing as discouragement, and depending on or deepening their fear. You hear a sibling saying to Mel, that sure is a long drop. Like she could have interpreted that as, yeah, I probably should stay up here with y'all and be safe. But she reframed it and she said, at least I have wings. I love this because many of us, the most important disciplines in our lives is learning how to remain grounded in truth when fear is trying to interpret our movement. You've got wings. But I also love this because Mel didn't stop there, right? The other line in the book that stood out for me was she hadn't even taken the leap yet. She hadn't even tried yet. But you know what she says to them? See you soon. Y'all, this was not arrogance. This wasn't denial. This was expectation. She expected that she would do what she was designed to do. Mel moves as though possibility is believable. That's what happens to us, right? We don't move like possibility is believable. See, and it's one of the greatest things we lose as adults. During our experiences in life as we grow up, we lose what children have naturally. Like children will explore the possibility of anything. Like they believe that anything is possible. And because they believe that anything is possible, they're willing to try things, even if they fail at it. Oh. But adults, we become protectors of the predictability is really what I want to say, not possible. We become protectors of predictability. And it's not because we're weak. It's because we've experienced disappointment in life, and that disappointment can train us to shrink our imagination in order to protect ourselves from experiencing pain. And over time, the continued shrinking of our imagination, it kicks us and moves us into survival mode. And that survival mode then becomes a lifestyle. And when it's a lifestyle, we stop asking what's possible. And we start asking what's safest, what's comfortable, what's most comfortable, what's easiest. And listen, there's nothing wrong with being cautious, right? Because I think caution is important. It's not a bad thing. But wisdom and discernment matters too. And often what we do is we allow our fear to disguise itself as realism. And some people say it like this, I'm just being practical. But underneath they are terrified to move. And I think Mel and Mel Fell challenges this for us because I don't think that this bird is being reckless, nor do I think she's being irresponsible. I think she's being courageous because courage is not the absence of fear. No, 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 no. It's the moment possibility becomes more convincing than comfort. That part. Yeah, when possibility becomes more convincing than comfort, we enter the realm of courage. Ah, listen, and then this story, it takes a really fascinating turn because Mel jumps off the branch. She's falling, right? And the other creatures along the tree are attempting to rescue her. The spiders, the squirrels, the bees, all the things. They're all attempting to rescue Mel from what they think is her falling. But at the end of the book, the author reveals that Mel is a kingfisher bird. And kingfisher birds don't fall, they dive. Listen, Mel is diving. It's part of her design. Oh, so what looked like collapse to everybody else, what looks like falling to everybody else was really an alignment with who Mel really is, who she was created to be. Ooh. See, Mel is not simply falling. She is positioning herself for a catch because kingfisher birds dive down into water and catch fish. Oh man. I will tell you that sometimes the transformative moments in your life look like falling to other people. Whether it's a career change, whether you get on a journey of health and healing, or whether you set boundaries, or there's a leadership transition, where there's growth in your life, or there's a faith journey that you're on, from the outside, that movement can get misinterpreted by other people. Yeah, we need humility here because not every leap of faith is wisdom. Not every unconventional decision is driven by purpose. But some movements only make sense only when you understand the design of the person in the motion. Woo! It's true for leadership. It's true for relationships. It's true for our spirituality. And sometimes people project rescue onto situations because they're interpreting your movement through the wrong framework. Maybe, maybe you're not falling. Maybe you're diving. See, and Mel caught a fish when she dived into the water, splashed right in the water. She opened her beak, she caught a fish. Mel caught a fish. But by the time she got back to the top, to the branch, her siblings caught her courage. Because courage is contagious, y'all. But so is fear. Every environment we're in is interpreting or is transmitting interpretations constantly. All the while we're in environments, we are transmitting interpretations. Sometimes we're saying this is dangerous, or that's impossible, or maybe I shouldn't try. But other times we might say, I can do this, or you were made for this. You've got wings. One of my favorite instructors in our Peloton community has a mantra she uses: I am, I can, I will, I do. Huh. It's just a way to transmit an interpretation of what we're facing. And we get to decide which voices become authoritative in our lives. We get to decide that. And so one courageous moment and movement can expand and become imaginable for everybody else watching. Your courageous step can become courage for somebody else. That's leadership, y'all. That's influence. I love that Mel takes the leap. She dives. She's not falling, she's diving. She catches the fish. She flies back to the top of the branch, the fish in her mouth. And you know who's up there waiting for her? Her mama. Nah, her mama stand up there. You know what her mama says? I knew you could do it. I knew you could do it. And Mel's response is priceless. Mel says, I did too. I wonder if you're like Mel, that if you have belief that you can do something, right? And you're willing to take the chance, you're willing to take the risk, you're willing to take the leap to become who you were designed to become so that others can affirm it. Not because you're ready, but because you're prepared. You're prepared by your design. You're prepared by instinct. You're prepared by capacity. You're prepared by your identity. I wonder if there's someone listening to this right now who already possesses more capacity than you have allowed yourself to recognize. And so maybe the question isn't, am I ready? I wonder, what have you mistaken for comfort and safety and fear instead of wisdom? What truth do you need to remain grounded in while the world keeps trying to define the movement of your life through the lens of fear? Maybe, maybe the thing that feels like you're falling is actually the beginning of you learning to fly. Because you've got wings. Oh, we are never ready, only prepared. Y'all, thank you for spending time with me today. And if this encouraged you, if it challenged your thinking, if it helped you reflect in a meaningful way, I want you to like and subscribe. But share it with somebody else. Like, don't keep this to yourself, because somebody else needs this too. Until next time, remember, you're more ready than you realize because you're prepared. And you know what else I tell you? You're exactly enough.